Welcome to another edition of the Brian Turner Basketball Podcast. Before we get going, can you please like and subscribe to the channel? My goal is to grow this channel within the next year as much as possible, full of basketball content, full of health content, full of life content. So do yourself a favor and make sure you click the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell for all notifications. Also, this video is being brought to you by and powered by SeatGeek.com. SeatGeek.com is an online ticketing app. So any music concert, any comedy concert, any sporting event, baseball, football, basketball, go over to the app, use promo code Coach Turner to get $20 off your first purchase at checkout. Appreciate your time. I'm glad you was able to find this channel. I hope you like this video.
Oh yeah, that's good time. Sure.
Yeah. So Leah, let's go on jump into it, man. We got Mike Sutherland, man, on the podcast, man. This is well overdue. So for a lot of folks, man, that don't know who Mike Sutherland is, let's just tap into him, man. I said a couple times from just like the listeners, I see like your name pop up in a lot of like our coaching groups, as far as like one of the best elite players in our area growing up. Let's just talk about like your early life, man. How was growing up? You grew up in St. Louis, in North St. Louis, North County, like kind of get your backdrop.
Well, grew up a little bit of everywhere, but mostly North County. Think till about the 8th grade. So just from the Berkeley, Delwood, Hazelwood. Early on, it was right by Whitney Chase over there, in a little apartment complex over there by Whitney Chase across the street from it. So just really, I went to, man, all types of schools, man. I probably went to 4 or 5 different elementary schools, man, and middle school, so know a lot of different people lived all over the area.
Right. So when did you fall in love with the game? Like, was it just something that you was just like you grew up? I know some people that say, "Man, I had a basketball in my bed when I was little," and then you got some folks that were like late bloomers until you get a growth spurt and you really start seeing guys flourish. Like, how was it for you? Did you grow up with the game, or you kind of
Well,
stumbled
yeah,
on?
the play. So I played like just I don't know, man. I played with a lot of different teams coming up. Played with a couple of select or AAU teams, but never really was good. I just always really had a motor and was competitive. Uh, I remember in the 6th grade though, this kid, man, in school, he was like, "Man, you can't hoop. You play for the Y." So that I always think about that. You know what I mean? I still kind of don't even like the dude to this day. But that was just one of the things that kind of drove me.
Yeah.
Just not being, you know how it is, man. Either you're naturally talented or you got somebody that's, teaching you the ropes or teaching you different things, different skills of the game. So I wasn't natural, and I didn't have nobody teaching me. So just getting beat and stuff, not being that good really drove me. So I think by like the 8th grade, I kind of figured it out as far as like, okay, this is what I got to do to get better. And, what I mean? Like discovered, Jordan, the rare air tapes and learning to fly
Hey,
and stuff,
hey,
man.
and that stuff right there is like I say it's like it's in a lot of our DNA, man, especially like guys our age. That's like we stumbled up either on a mixtape, we stumbled up on like Playground, a Come Fly With Me, Rare Air, like something like that, because just being able to see those highlights on a regular basis, it drove you to watch it and then go out and try everything that you saw. But going back to what you just got through saying, and I think I kind of fit in that same boat too, where it's like you had to have a chip on your shoulder. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times, man, people play on like elite teams, or some teams always been on like that team. And you never had to go through any type of adversity, or nothing kind of like drove you, because you've always kind of had it easy. So it's refreshing to hear somebody say that, because if nothing if whoever listening to us, whether it's a young up and coming coach, a young player, man, it's okay to go through some adversity like that. That builds so much character. What you think about that?
Yeah, I think besides LeBron, if you look at the top players in the league, they all had some type of adversity. You know what I'm saying? I mean, LeBron,
Hmm.
the only dude I seen that was that dude, and they never was not that dude. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. No, that's real.
I ain't never seen nothing like that in my whole life.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, and
somebody,
some, as but even though like it's some could say that he grew up without a father. What would this person be if he had a father in his life? And I think like that's so important now that you surround yourself like with the young guys, surround themselves with good mentors, with good coaches, good quality people that can kind of show you the ropes. Because you and me kind of like in the same, we stumbled on it, but we never really had somebody there to kind of like guide you
uh,
to the way and say like this is the way to get there. Now it's so many examples of guys that came up in our generation that, man, the talent was there, but throughout the way, man, some of us kind of just fell short. Now you seeing
mm,
these guys getting contracts two ways,
yeah.
$100 million, and it's like, man, like we could have been right there. So kind of talk to that. So when did you realize that you were like an elite player? So eighth grade, ninth grade, you started to figure it out. Go
uh,
into like kind of noticing, man, I'm kind of elite at this.
uh, well, I mean, you always think you good, so I can't never say it was like a certain point to where like my mind switched. But so I played freshman team as a freshman. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? So it probably didn't kick in for real, and probably till my sophomore year, the end going into my junior year. The summertime is when you kind of get to practice and hone your skills and kind of see where you at. And the thing about young players, you always really, I mean, improving, to be honest, up in
Hmm.
point, you can improve naturally when you're young because you go through puberty and grow and get stronger and all of that stuff. So I just seen it. I know a particular play kind of sticks out. Well, a couple plays stick out in my mind. Uh, this one dude, I guess I kind of looked up to him a little bit, not too much, but just somebody that was older that could dunk and stuff. I had ripped him like at half court, and then like did like dunked or something on the breakaway. I'm like, damn, why ain't you jump? Because I'm thinking I thought he was gonna LeBron my shit or something. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, damn, why ain't you jump? He like, I ain't want to get dunked on. So I'm like, damn. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of just let me know, like, damn, he ain't want to get dunked on. Okay, so just kind of
Hmm.
let me know that I was at least the best in that gym. You know what I mean?
Right. Hmm.
And he was a senior. You know what I'm saying? So he just like kind of, I wouldn't say bow down, but that, you know how it is. Just
Oh
give
shoot,
somebody that.
nah, it ain't that. Is it? That's exactly what it is. Because I mean, once the light kind of click on and you start seeing how things naturally can come easy to you, and it's just like, I never forget. It was just like playing a game and never wanting the game to stop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like you playing and you just like, man, I wish this game could just keep going and keep going and keep going and not stop because I'm out here killing. I'm talking about
yeah,
doing everything, and so once I started to figure that out, it was just like, man, it was like being thirsty for that feeling again,
yeah.
you
I
know?
mean, yeah. So it just, yeah, yeah. The competition, you want to compete, and then obviously you want to win. So the bigger, the better the person you competing against, the better the win feels when you get it, or the if you win
Mhm.
the matchup or whatever you want to say. So
Yeah. So what was it like when you transition? I ain't gonna even say transition, but when you just look at the landscape and maybe it wasn't even on your radar, but just like public schools versus private schools back then, because you went to Lutheran North, and at the time, Lutheran North is one of like the elite quote unquote small schools, and Missouri High School, you got four classes back then. Did you see any difference in the competition being like? You dominating playing at an elite level, playing summer ball with elite players, and then you come back to Lutheran North, dominating. Did you see any difference when you played larger schools or public schools versus private schools?
Nah, man, this wasn't really body. No, nobody was really that nice for real. It's kind of how it is today. You got Bashan. I mean, we played the V my senior year, but
Okay.
nah, man. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I can't really say it was a big difference. I mean, you had Bashan for real. I mean, you know all about them playing in your conference, but
Yeah. But what about like the Jennings? Like, even though Jennings is still like considered a small school, but like the Jennings, the Berkeleys, I'm trying to think what was the other like powerhouse public schools
yeah. So we
that you
played
guys used to
played Burke
play?
districts. We
Wellstons.
Yeah, we played all those schools. I can't really say anybody was that good for real, but maybe the V, as far as just like this what they do type thing. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? As far as like, okay, they picking up full court, they playing good defense. You know, they got a system. Uh, I mean, we didn't really have. I mean, who was really big? Like as far as
Right. Nah, it wasn't really no big teams like that. Like, you got to think, Mike, man, you 6'5" and the two guard.
yeah,
Shit, it's like you the big guy out there. It's just
yeah.
like it's just one of those things
I
that
remember
I like to see. Go ahead.
when we played, a lot of them country schools used to have some big boys. Like the
Mhm.
further you went out, you'd see
Mhm.
some big ass kids. But man, I don't. I mean, I don't. Who was good? I don't. I have to look at the all Metro team or the
Yeah, I mean, you the big schools, because you came out in '98 or you came out in '99.
99. I was a year old. You came out in 2000, right?
Right. So that year you had like the Normandys, you had the Wellstons, you had the Vashons, you had the like I said, the Jennings, like you had all of those. I mean, basically it was neighborhood, like neighborhood schools was thriving at the time. But it's
Yeah,
just one of those things now. It's like it's a big, and it maybe it's just a decline of the education landscape where a lot of these schools are like not existing anymore, and it's like everybody's making a push to go private, and now you're starting to see a lot of the private schools kind of leapfrog over public schools, and then it's one of those things where the state has to change all of the different rules,
yeah,
private versus public. Now we got to put different indicators in and
yeah.
success factors to get all of the private schools playing against each other no matter what. So I just wanted to just throw that out there because I
Yeah,
wanted to hear it from
it's
someone.
definitely different today than what it was. I think. I mean, what did they have like CBC with
Hmm.
Larry and them as far as like a
DeSmet had a
powerhouse?
good team. DeSmet was a
Just yeah,
powerhouse.
yeah, with Banyak and all of them. And like I said, it was some country teams too that was good. That was out in the country, but that would be something maybe a different some place maybe like CBC or something compared to our school might have
Hmm.
been like a blowout or something like that. I don't know. I mean, we barely lost to the V when we did lose,
Right.
and that's the V. So if they lose locally, it's an upset.
Right. No, no, yeah, I feel you. So how was it the transition, making that transition? So what was recruiting like? Because like we just talked about it being on like the scene and like
Yeah.
I mean, you were one of the elite players in the area, is just kind of like, man, seeing you out there. And that's why I just tell folks that the guys that we play with, it may be guys that didn't make it to the league, but we had league talent throughout the St. Louis area for a long time. So
Yeah.
what was it like as far as like your recruiting process? How did you go through it? And give some advice for someone that may be going through the recruiting process right now that you can kind of drop some nuggets on for them making that transition from high school to college.
So my advice for somebody getting recruited, uh, well, obviously, make sure you're eligible. That would be the first thing to do. Because if
Hmm.
you're not eligible, what you see in those offers and all that is just exactly what it is. It's just an offer, and it's gonna disappear when you know grades. Make sure you're eligible, and then as far as the recruiting process, make sure that like understand the coach's coaching style, understand the offense they run, um, tenure. as far as how long is this coach going to be at the school. Just little things like that, and then just make sure that you can kind of find an example or maybe a player similar to you that's thrived in that system, or you know, does this playing style even fit your style? So that's what I would say with that. Obviously, get your grades so you can play, and then just be aware of and be honest too with your talent level.
Mm-hmm.
Like we was talking before the interview about just being delusional. Uh, Sometimes you got to be a delusional to get certain things done. You know, you got to seem a little crazy, but um, as far as like your talent level, like some people shouldn't be expecting D1 offers. Some people shouldn't, you know what I'm saying? And just knowing
Right.
too, because I kind of found out now, I guess NAIA is not as bad as it was when we were coming up. You know, it was D1, D2, D3, and then NAIA. Now they saying NAIA is a step above D3.
Mm-hmm.
So just knowing different things and do your research because it is NBA players and then what's your true goal too? Like, do you want to be a professional basketball player or do you want to get a job or is you just getting a degree? Is that what you focusing in on? So know what you really want out of this. Some people just want a free education and then they gonna get in a cubicle or do whatever they're gonna do for the rest of their life. You know, some people just want the degree, but some people their aspirations are actually to play, you know, professional basketball. So just evaluating yourself properly and accurately, so you know kind of what you're looking for, and you can kind of express and communication.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I think that I lacked, just being younger, just communicating.
That's
Uh,
huge.
Yeah, being able to just communicate what I want out of this process, you know, especially with your high school coach or your AAU coach, and then with the coaches recruiting you. Because I mean, a lot of the time that may have never been discussed.
Man,
Like,
that's real talk. No, that's real because it's kind of like, again, I think it kind of goes back to having certain people in your corner that can, even just like what you just said, maybe your mom or your dad or somebody around you maybe even never told you, hey man, speak up for what you want. You know,
yeah,
we may have been going up under this assumption that this is what you've been wanting for the last 3 or 4 years, and this really not what you want. So just don't waste nobody time, and
yeah,
everything can still be good. But I think having people in your corner that can just tell you stuff like that right there is a jewel that I
yeah,
think most people, it might go over folks' head, but it's just like, man, communicate with these people what you want. And I'm just like you. If I would have communicated a little bit more, even just when I got to college on what I wanted, we could be looking at a way different outcome as
yeah.
opposed to me
I
maybe
mean,
holding a grudge or being
yeah,
disgruntled when it comes to certain
yeah,
things, to where, you know, truly not even taking advantage of even just the whole atmosphere of you being at a D1, D2, or, you know, NAIA school with all these different resources. Nobody's telling you, hey man, why don't you go over to that business office and sit over there with them and kind of network on how to do this, or sit over here with that. Maybe that stuff would never been discussed. So
yeah.
go ahead. So yeah, so communication is huge.
You got me. And then too, I don't even know how many people have had a. Some coaches don't even tell the players like, "Hey, look, this is what I'm looking for you. This is my goal for you for this year. I'm looking at 5 to 10 points a game, or you coming off the bench, or you being a our defensive stopper." A lot of times, coaches, I ain't never really even heard too many coaches say that. Like, as many different coaches as I have, I really haven't even been given a role for real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or if I'm a
Yeah,
coach,
no,
I'm
that's real because
given.
you
Go ahead.
no, because I was gonna say you have so many coaches. Like we live in a day and age where everybody is buddy buddy with the fear of losing that player. So if you tell that kid something that he don't want to hear, he's ready to transfer. He's ready to leave your program, and now it's kind of like, damn, I shouldn't have said that. And it goes, and that type of stuff carry on with you. It's just like, don't mislead people throughout the way. Like if he can't handle the truth and what you're about to tell him, maybe that's not your type of player, regardless of where you think he can give you 10 points or 15 points.
Right.
Maybe he can give you that 10 or 15 points, but it's going to be a cancer in the locker room,
Yeah,
and
headache.
it's going to hurt you later
Yeah,
on down the road.
definitely. Yeah, I just think like I was saying with the communication, like just telling the coach your goals and shit, he might tell you, hey, you reaching a little bit on that one, or you know what I'm saying? Why don't we, readjust these goals a little bit, or this is what I had in mind for you, just so you can be on the same page. And a lot of times, you speaking up first or bringing that to the table first might do you a lot of justice, and that's on every level. That's even with the assistant coaches recruiting you, um, all of that. But just I know with my recruiting process personally. I didn't really have the grades, and I was kind of waiting on my ACT score. So I was getting recruited, but it was kind of based on the fact if I get the right ACT score. So it was
Mhm.
like a true recruiting process, but it was kind of with the but, you know what I mean, or
Right.
the if or whatever. So, which probably stopped a lot of major looks for me. So I was getting a lot of mid majors, you know what I'm saying? But um, I mean, I think you played AAU with me a couple of times, and I know you played up a couple of times with the Eagles and stuff, and probably seen. Uh, like I used to give dudes a business sometimes in them AAU games. That it wasn't all the time, it wasn't consistent, but a lot of times when I did show out, AAU is always a big time coach, especially when you're playing on the Nike circuit. It's kind of how it is now. You know what I'm saying? You
Mhm.
score 20, 30 in the game, they gonna know about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you could only do it once or twice. You know what I mean? And get a big offer off that big game. So I had a couple big games. I feel like in AAU, they got me some big offers or just interest, I guess. But when the grades ain't there, they can go get somebody that's way more talented with no grades. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So and then end up signing at SEMO, which I did that because they was one of the first schools to kind of recruit me and show interest, and then also uh just was on me. You know what I mean? Like really
No,
express.
no, it's one of those things where it's kind of like going somewhere where you want it and not just kind of like, all right, I'm just going just to be going because this is where I want, but they really not, a little lukewarm on you. But it feel good to go somewhere that somebody really wants you and want you to be a part of their family, and you got to make the most out of those situations a lot of times. But it's just like, man, it's just like dating a girl. I'm finna go with this girl that's showing me some vibes. And I'm like, okay, all right. I pick up on that as opposed to this gal that ain't even giving me, she want to see what I'm finna pull up in before she give me the time. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right, exactly. So uh and to any kid today that feel like you a major big time player and you get mid major looks, or I don't know what they do. They call them mid majors or anymore, or low mid major,
Man, I
low
mean, a
major.
lot of stuff is mid majors, but it's just kind of like the talent level in a lot of the mid majors is better than some of the high level, talent, and so and vice versa. It's like it's a level playing field, especially with these COVID years, and you getting folks bouncing around, you
The
getting
older
guys going,
kids.
you getting
Yeah,
older kids, you seeing guys with that talent dropping down, and basically like this is really where you should have been at all along. You know what I'm saying?
definitely. So I would advise a kid to make. I feel like it's a lot of kids from the St. Louis area. If they would have chose SEMO, career would be a lot different. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, that's real talk, and
Because
and,
you
and
could
I guess it's,
go average shit 10 to 20 as a
yeah,
freshman if you
but
like it. You know what I'm
But
saying?
and it goes back to, I think a lot of guys don't really understand what it's like to be a professional athlete. Like you want to go and be a professional. Like a professional athlete means that you're doing this stuff regardless, night in and night out, every single day. If you really want to be a professional, no matter what school you go to, if you keeping that same approach, it's gonna be somewhere for you to play afterwards. Now, it may not be exactly what you want right off the bat, but again, if those conversations were had, you can make a living out of this. You can feed your family out of this. And I'm pretty sure, like you and me, like we still can play to this day just because we love the game. And you don't have to have a monetary value put with that. We'll just do it just on the strength of this is what we want to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if you truly a professional and you love the game, man, you'll play anywhere. You'll go anywhere. I just think a lot of these guys, it goes back to that word again, being delusional to where, man, they really don't know what they want. They want the lifestyle, but
Yeah.
then they don't want to actually do it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that work different, man. That work is different, man. You got to really fall in love with the process, and uh, it just, I don't know, man. This day and age, see, I took a long time off from
Okay.
basketball, got back in recently, probably during COVID. So
So
I
yeah,
ain't,
so talk
I ain't
go
really
ahead.
seen a dog yet, man.
We
I ain't
always talking about that, man.
even
So
gonna
so
lie to you, man. I ain't really seen. I mean, I don't know. I seen maybe a couple that got that work ethic. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
But I mean, nothing like where I'm gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna train you for free. Let me. You know what I'm saying? I ain't seen that yet.
So let's kind of talk about that. So we making the transition from college to the real world. When did you start saying like, man, this is gonna be my next chapter in my life, and this is what I want to do? Because like what we just said, you don't let the game define who you are because you able to go do something different, but then come back around to it because this is what you want to do. But
Yeah,
talk about that transition from college to the real world, and then we're gonna talk about the healthy lifestyle, and then helping the next generation.
definitely. It's I think it's a transition to anything you do, college to the real world. If you're not an athlete, if you are an athlete, it's gonna be a big transition. Just considering the fact a lot of the times, uh, you may live on campus or real close to campus. You got anybody. Well, I wouldn't say anybody, but you probably got a strong little support system as far as people could mail you some money or you get the Pell Grant. It was all
Mm-hmm.
types of little things to get a
Right.
little. You didn't have to work or you didn't have to necessarily pay bills. You know what I mean? So I think that's the real world is paying them bills. But just as far as being an athlete and transition out of that and not being, it's tough. I mean, I would imagine it's even tougher when you probably play pro ball for 10 or 15 years and then got to get out of it. So speaking of that fact, I'm kind of glad it happened like it did
Mm-hmm.
'cause to get it over with quick because I know it's got to be tough for those guys that play 10, double digit years doing something and then they just retire and then they lost.
Yeah.
And then what's interesting is a lot of dudes is kind of that love the game to a certain level kind of end up in the same situation. You know what I'm saying? I didn't play 10 or 15 years pro. I didn't even play no pro ball. So, but I still end up seeing a lot of guys that I went to school with that played pro. We kind of in the same, if it's not coaching, training, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of the
Yeah,
same.
no. The
Uh,
same people you see on the way up, you see back down, but even not just back down, but just like we have to go through real world situations like anybody else.
yeah, yeah. So, uh, the only really rare class of guys you don't see like jumping back in is dudes that probably saved a whole bunch of money. You know what I'm saying? They
Mhm.
kind of get to pick and choose what they want to do. But most guys that really love the game, even if they got a lot of bread, somebody like Penny or
Right.
other, they get into coaching or training. Darren Collison,
Mhm.
got his little training facility out there in Cali. So
But like I tell people all the time is like what you've learned, man. You can eat off this game for the rest of your life if you choose to apply it to
yeah,
anything, whether if it's coaching, training. You see people writing books. You see people making that transition just talking about the game. These guys
yeah.
making money and then along with that, you can transition into something else, but you still eating off the game that was taught to you back when you was 10, 11, 12 years old.
And you eating off something that you were passionate about or that you got love for.
Hmm.
Which I think is most important that you doing something that kind of makes you happy or give you some type of enjoyment. You know what I mean? Because who
No,
don't love to play basketball as far as hoopers is concerned? Like
man,
even
we
they don't want to train, they'll be like, "Can we run? Can we play teams?" And you know what I'm saying? As soon as they can get a
Mhm.
chance to. ask a question. A lot of kids, you love to play. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
What have you seen? And it kind of going back to that, making that transition, or just keeping the stuff that we learned at a young age and transitioning it to having a healthy lifestyle. Like you just got through saying, you got some guys, and I hear this all the time when they through playing. Oh man, I ain't finna touch a basketball. I ain't finna pick up a basketball. And
yeah,
not saying that the game itself is something that you should be playing, but you still should be thinking about preserving your body and preserving your
yeah,
health so you can be there for the next generation, whether if it's, health. We see so many people in our culture right now, man, that folks are passing away at 50. And like I was just saying, I can stand next to somebody that's fresh out of high school or college, and that person look older than I am. But it's
yeah,
like I took care of myself. So kind
yeah.
of transition and talk about that. How did you get into working out and fitness and just having making healthy life choices?
Well, yeah. So, like I was telling you in the beginning, I didn't really start off. You know, I'm one of them dudes that kind of got to learn how to do it, and then I get good at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't know if you tumbled when you was little, but you always had a dude that was the coldest tumbler for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? He could flip the best, do 20 backflips, stand still notes, all of that. You know what I'm saying? He was just
Mm-hmm.
cold. But I wasn't really one of them type of dudes, so I always had to work at everything. So that right there kind of just let me know at an early age, like you're gonna have to put in some work. You might not start off the best, but you gotta put in that work. So uh that started early, and remember we was talking about the air up there and come fly with me and all them things. I remember I had seen Jordan working out with Tim Grover. You know what I'm saying? When
Right.
I was young. And I'm like, damn, you know what I'm saying? I always was like one of them little kids that loved trucks and guns and whatever was masculine. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So working out muscles, all that. So once I seen that, I'm like, okay. And then just hearing about how hard Jordan worked, and this is the best. So in
Right.
my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if you want to be the best, this is the type of work you got to put in. So that was my first taste, as far as just knowing you could train. You could do other things besides basketball to make you better at basketball. So then I had my friend dad. He had bought his son two pairs of strength shoes for some
Mm-hmm.
reason. I don't know, maybe a bigger pair or a smaller pair, some for him maybe to grow into or something. But by the time ninth grade hit, he wasn't playing basketball no more. He was in the girls and doing his own thing. So his dad ended up giving me the shoes with the little tape. It came with a tape with plyometrics on it and whatever. So that was the beginning, man. And then I actually seen my hops. Like, damn, this shit actually.
Right. Right.
I don't know if it was puberty or what it was. If it was just a perfect.
Man, nah, them things work, man. I mean,
Yeah,
you knew they worked, and you saw
yeah,
it once you stopped doing it. You was just like, man, but just how easy it was just to go up there and put that mug down, reverse it,
yeah,
twist with it, you
yeah.
like,
So once I
and
started seeing that, like, damn. And I just really started just working out. You know what I'm saying? And probably did it wrong for a long period of time
mhm,
till probably the last 5 or 10 years where I kind of figured out like training splits as far as rest, nutrition, things like that to really, most importantly, keep you healthy, but obviously, progressing and getting better. But that's
mhm.
when I just really figured out all the correct stuff in probably the last 10 years or so. Like I said, with nutrition, recovery, rest. Cause I stay up all night and go hoop the next day like it was okay not eat. You know how it was.
Yeah, man. No, we didn't eat. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Hooper, the eating was the plan, man. Going to the next game, hooping and doing all of that
you
stuff,
remember
and
them AAU road trips? I don't even remember eating shit. I mean, I'm
yep,
sure we was eating, but I don't. That wasn't the main.
it was some trash. It was some
Yeah, it
trash.
wasn't. We finna all go to this restaurant or something. I can't even
Mhm.
remember like no. no, where we ate as a team or nothing like that, like to
But
some
even
extravagant.
but even that not even being the real focus, like you got some folks that was kind of it was on their radar to kind of like, now you can't eat that, you can't eat that. But like nowadays, it's a whole industry around young athletes and making sure that you got to get it in, especially if you want an edge. And a lot of folks are looking for an edge. And so before we get off of this, I want you to make sure you give out all your information, what you got going on, man.
Oh,
You've trained some of the greats. You got go
somebody
ahead.
else kind of got me into the training, man. And you know how when you get older, you don't realize. When you get older, you realize you really like something that you just was kind of interested in a little bit. Remember, dude, Haywood
Yeah,
with the
Haywood's still around to this day. Man, he used to
for
come
real?
up there early and get them workouts in. He got two he got a facility out in Wentzville with 2 courts and 2 gyms. And he always trying to get people with, man. We'll connect with, I'll give you his information after we get off of
Yeah,
here. But yeah,
I didn't realize, like, people, uh, you didn't really have that much respect for somebody that was on that, but now, like, he was a pioneer, basically. You know what I'm
oh
saying?
man, he was ahead of the game.
Yeah,
Look, he had a website. He had his training information. He was doing all of this stuff early and was on us. Hey,
yeah.
come get some early work in. Get
Remember,
some
he
early
gave me
work in.
the little the, and I still had this. I swear to God, man, the little assessment or the analysis he gave you. He typed it out. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you need to work on this. Blah 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 blah. But that's still missing in the game today, dog. I bet you a lot of
Man,
these high level AAU and
man, shout out to Haywood, man. He was ahead of the game, man.
great pioneer, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I still remember some of the stuff he be saying as far as like when you shoot, the ball should come back to you. Like a real shooter
Hmm.
ain't gonna have to get his rebound. It's gonna come back and come out the net. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Just
real,
look
man.
like that, man. That was one of the dudes now that I really wish I paid more attention to, man. Back in the day, like I had, like I was cognitive of him, like I was aware of
Hmm.
like what he was doing, but I really wasn't aware to the point to like shit. I might be like, cause everything he was doing is what I love. Like I love
Right?
that work.
No.
I love that work. I rather
Hmm.
I didn't really even like the games, Brian.
Mm.
Like I'd rather go bust somebody ass and bucket or something, man. I ain't really like, cause you had to run plays and shit. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to run
Right.
plays, man. I'm trying to shoot from damn near half court and kill these dudes. Like I ain't trying to play with cause the rest of your
But the mentality that you have is missing in a lot of folks. Not to cut you off, but you got so many kids nowadays that are just so trained to the point where they miss that other element. And that's something that I realized too when we went on these trips and we used to get all of this stuff. And I remember going to the Nike camp, and the first thing I'm getting off, and it's guys from Baltimore, New York, DC. First thing they said was like, man, we got to sit through all of this. Man, just give me my shoes straight out the box.
yeah,
I'm ripping the box open and we hooping. Like, what are we doing?
yeah,
But that mentality is kind of like, like you shouldn't have to do all of this. But I think it's being able to have that happy medium between learning, being real skillful, learning all those things, and still being able to hoop and being spontaneous, because
yeah.
the game is a performing art. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people that can improvise with it are some of our greats and some of our best.
Yeah. I think too, like you were saying earlier with the chip on your shoulder. I don't know if you remember this though, but uh, you know how I kind of just I remember maybe college was the first time I seen dudes not looking right at the coach when he was talking. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, damn, he just looking into the space. You know what I'm saying? That when I'm coming up, you better be looking, especially if you ain't getting in the game. You better
Hmm.
be looking right at the coach. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was
No.
like my first experience of like seeing dudes that really wasn't that just was like I guess pampered or just used to being that dude. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm. Yeah.
not looking at the coach when he talking like, boy, you get bent. My high school coach will bench you, boy.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I said, man, I played for man Bird Hamilton, man. This dude 6'6", man, with a voice that's just like got like thunder. That you better look at this man. You better make sure you acknowledge him. But then once you start getting older and you start to see that, long as it's a respect factor there to where somebody just not like doing it to just be deliberate or, at the same time, like doing it to kind of like, I can't play constantly looking at you. And some good coaches empower their kids. And I tell them all the time, man, quit looking over here. Like, play the game. Like, you don't have to always look over at me for the
Right,
call. If you a
right,
point guard, I got confidence in you for you to run this
right.
team. Run the team.
Yeah,
Like, I call Misha every day. I don't have no more eligibility. Quit looking over here. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
that's some of the things that I kind of, kind of try to put into the next generation. But go on, throw out all your social medias, all your businesses that you got going on, because I want folks to tap in with you. I still got to get up with you, man, on so many different things. But for the folks that's listening, how can folks get in contact with you?
A1 Fitness on Instagram. Just my government name on Facebook. I do basketball training, skills training, also strength and conditioning. Basically, agility, weights, whatever you're trying to do, bigger, stronger, faster. I guess to sum it up, and that's for all sports. But
Mm-hmm.
basketball is the only sport I really know something about for real as far as like actual skill is concerned. So, but the weights and stuff, I got that down packed. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so,
And
but
it's not
yeah.
just athletes, man. Moms, man, mamas,
Oh
aunties,
yeah, yeah,
everybody
yeah,
need
yeah.
to
I
get,
do
man,
everybody.
need to get at you because
Yeah, I do
man,
everybody.
and get at them because man, you got to break down, man. Make sure you breaking down the meal plans for folks too, man, because
And then
you
also,
can't be working out and just lifting weights and not eating right.
yeah, that healthy eating. So, I always try to start my day off with breakfast. First and foremost. Some people say don't eat breakfast or whatever, but I eat breakfast. So,
Mm-hmm.
turkey bacon, about 4 eggs, some rice, probably about a half a cup, fourth a cup of rice, some sweet potatoes, and then that's my breakfast. And then about 2 or 3 hours after that, I eat another small meal. So I try to eat about 4 or 5 meals per day. Uh, Breakfast and dinner probably being my biggest meals. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, eating, man, and then trying to prepare your food. You know what I mean? I think
Ooh, talk about it, man. That's the biggest thing right there, ain't it?
is probably one of the most important things when it comes to nutrition. I mean, obviously, it's got to be the
Mm-hmm.
right foods, but you got to think when
Mm-hmm.
you go to a restaurant or fast food or something, you don't even get to see them cook your food, so you don't know what it look. It's something you might be cooking, making some chicken or something. You see a little piece of something on there to look funny and cut it off, and you know what I'm saying, throw it out and continue. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? So
But just that, like, man, for a lot of folks ain't making their food with love, though, man. You know what I'm saying? I
yeah,
think like that's a big component. And if
yeah,
you prepared already for what the week is gonna look like, what the day is gonna look like,
yeah.
it's like so you already know you disciplined up. Man, I ain't finna run in that fast food line. I ain't finna run and go just smash this burger
And
or
then
just do
too,
something.
you got to think if you eating the majority of healthy, you can eat a little fast food. I could probably eat
Mhm.
McDonald's every day and be cool, not all day every day,
Right.
but one
Hmm.
meal a day and be fine because the other 4 meals I'm eating is healthy, and
Right. And you getting your exercise in.
I'm gonna probably burn that McDonald's off with a workout. So that's the
Hmm.
thing too. Your diet could be a lot more fluid if you did work out. If you did burn, try to burn 500 to 1,000 calories a day. You know what I mean? That's just
How
sweating.
how important is vitamins? Is vitamins important?
I don't really take vitamins. Uh, I mean, I don't think it would be bad for you. Like, I think they got the women's one a day or something, and they probably got something like
Mhm.
that for men. Especially if you know you're not getting certain nutrients through food, whether it's calcium or vitamin D, C, or whatever the case may be. If you feel like you're lacking in a certain department, yeah, but I don't really feel the need to. I don't drink coffee
Mhm.
or I don't really need any supplements at this point. You know what I mean? Not to say that I won't ever use them or do anything. And fish oil, I think, is a good one that I would suggest. The fish oil. get the one with the non-fishy aftertaste. You don't want to get the ones
Hmm.
that you'll be burping up fish all day. But that would be the only few things I would suggest. Maybe vitamin D and C, some fish oil, maybe a multivitamin or something like that. Uh, but that's just once again for people that may be having a hard time getting it in naturally. All this stuff, as far as supplements is concerned, is exactly what it is. It's a supplement for the real thing. So if you can get the real thing, I would suggest you do the real thing.